This is Sean Harrison. Today I will be doing my EdS 8880 Module 4 assignment, the scenario presentations. The scenario that I chose was the scenario number 1I, which is over PBIS. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Today we will be conducting our leadership meeting, and I will be leading us today. We're going to be going over PBIS here at Grayson High School, and this is going to be coming all the way from the top, not just at the county, but from the Department of Education for the state of Georgia. So let's go ahead and get started on our presentation. We're going to be leading the way this year at Grayson High School. We're going to be piloting PBIS. You don't know, PBIS is a framework. It is not a curriculum. It is a evidence-based framework, and it promotes positive behavior. Alrighty, so here is the task that I have been chosen to do. It is to talk to everybody here at the leadership meeting currently right now. And we're going to be discussing what PBIS is. We're going to be talking about what kind of implementations it looks like, how does it affect us, why are we doing it, anything that should support the data. And really what kind of happened is, guys, is that the Department of Education has decided it's going to be encouraging a lot of its school districts to be going with this PBIS program. And our superintendent has gotten word that this is something that the state is starting to push. And so he wanted to go ahead and implement that down onto us here in Gwinnett County Public Schools. We just happen to be chosen as the piloted school for this year. And because of that, I'm going to be talking about what that looks like and, really what a realistic timeline of that actually is going to look like. Let's go ahead and get started. What we have here is going to be a visual representation of the PBIS triangle and/or pyramid. Now, most people assume that it is something of a program that is building, something that we climb upon. That's not actually the case, guys. This is a multi-tiered framework. It's vetted in, evidence-based practices. It is really focused on the prevention of, the behaviors that you don't want to see, promotes the good ones. And as long as we can be consistent in how we implement it, we're going to hit the data that we need to be able to push those changes that we're looking to see. Now, with PBIS, a lot of people, like I said, assume it is a pyramid to climb. That is not the case, my friends. This visual is a 100% deceiving one at that. So what visual could it be then? Some people think it's this, which is a snow cone, which you dive into the snow cone going through your tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 processes. Wrong again, my friends. It is not that visual either. The visual that is most representative of your PBIS system is really this. Tier 1 is going to be your core of the program because in Tier 1, it is the majority of your students. And really, your job as the educators and leaders that you are, it is to actually go out and reach into the Tier 3 and Tier 2, populations that are going to be under there and pull them back into the Tier 1 interventions that you're going to be talking about today. So with Tier 1, all right, it is all students in all settings. This is something that can be 80% of our student population is going to fall into the Tier 1 interventions. Here, this is where we get all of our school-wide expectations out there. We get our reward system set up. And really, we're going to be pushing the promotion of good behaviors, just like being on time, being respectful, not being late to class, whatever we can find, as big or as little as it is, to be able to tell a kid they're doing a good job. this is where we are going to find them in the tier one. With tier two is where we are going to embed our MTSS team. That is going to be consistent of counselors, behavior coaches, administrators, select teachers who want to be a part of the MTSS mentorship program through those check-in and check-outs. But these are for our students who, 10 to 20% of them are going to fall within this range. And it's for our targeted and selected group. For all the tier one stuff that we have implemented, if a student is not getting the picture here, we're going to push them into tier two and see if we can get them to fall back into that tier one category. So tier three, our last tier, this is going to be our 3 to 5% of our students. This is where we're going to have our highest of the flyers, all right? Targeted and intensive is what they describe it as. And this is where we're going to see all of our high-risk behaviors. And this is where students are going to need a individualized plan. So obviously here at the high school, we have a lot of students who are coming from the alternative school setting and coming back into the public school setting here at Grayson. And so through this is where our reentry meetings are going to be found in that tier three category. Before students even walk into their first period on their first day back, they are going to have to come through our tier three PBIS, MTSS program right here and be able to, get their mentor, get that game plan put together, figure out how we're going to do the check-in or check-out process. But this is where the highest of our flyers are going to be. And so that's where the most of our time and energy is probably going to be spent on a day-to-day operation. So I just covered the what is PBIS, but let's talk about the why is PBIS. So with PBIS, all right, this is not a state mandated program. That's why we're doing it, but it is a program that is supported by the Georgia Department of Education and is also endorsed through the PSC as well. And really, Georgia State Code 20-2-741, it encourages the use of PBIS and really the response to intervention, which improves our climate here at the schools. So not a mandate, but is state supported. And obviously, if it's state supported, our superintendent is going to want to jump in on that. And so here we are today. So here's some of the data that has been found using PBIS. All right, about 60% of our schools here in the entire state are actually implementing some form of PBIS through their MTSS program. And it says that the instructional time is, increasing within the classroom, attendance rates are going up, and overall referrals and suspensions going down, and ultimately teacher burnout and the turnover rate, from all of the, discipline issues is also decreasing as well. And I am proud to say I did some extra research on my own here. And, back in 2018, Mitchell and his team did some research and they really covered, over 300 different research articles talking about PBIS, and through their literature review as a collective, they identified that there's robust evidence that says that PBIS works, right? It works out well. But really the big thing is going to be talking about the fidelity in which we implement it. So we are going to have to be consistent in how we operate this. So what kind of impact are we talking to discipline? All right, for starters, we're going to try to get out in front of the discipline by being proactive and not reactive as we're all used to. So we're going to do this by, setting those clear expectations and be able to reduce any kind of ambiguity that is there. And ultimately, we want to reduce the rate of disciplinary, suspensions and things like that. And so I did some more research and I did find that there is definitely some research that supports that through the PBIS implementation, that data did show that there was a decrease to reduce any kind of disparities amongst the subgroups of students when it comes to disciplinary actions. So how are we going to do this? To be able to implement PBIS effectively, we obviously have to teach our own people how to do it, which is why I'm teaching y'all today on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So we're going to go through our initial training. There's going to be an ongoing set of training and really a collaborative planning at the end of the day here. So what does that really look like? So here's a projected timeline that I've come up with. So in our very first month, talk about our leadership training, i.e. right now, we're going to be letting our staff know what's kind of going on, and we're going to get them ready with what the plan is. In our second and third month, we're going to have those expectations developed. I've already developed a sample of our expectations a couple slides down through that behavior matrix, and also have the reinforcement system in place through our Synergy application that we utilize every day for attendance. In months 4 through 6, we're going to be talking about continual teachings of our expectations, and if need be, if we haven't already set it up yet, launching our online PBIS store. It's where students can actually utilize their reward points, i.e. their RAM bucks, to be able to, get some of that positive, enjoyment out of what they've done well. And really about halfway in our first year of implementation, we can start collecting data to figure out if it's working or not. Our 6 months on, right, month 7 until 1 year, any kind of refinement that we need to do for tier 1, we can talk about it there. We can discuss launching tier 2 if we haven't already done so, which we've already started in those steps already. And so this is just something, like I said, it's a projected timeline, but once again, got to continue to monitor with that fidelity and consistency. And then really in year 2, so right, starting not this upcoming year, but next school year, if we need to expand on this in our process, how we're operating it, maybe celebrate some successes. I think that would be huge to be able to continue to build, maybe have like a PBIS party, something of that sort, it's a gathering, but that is something in the works as well. And so that behavior matrix that I mentioned earlier, we obviously have talked about this before, but being respectful, responsible, on time, and ready to learn. These are those clear expectations, lessons that ambiguity. And if a teacher wants to say, hey, I saw a student show up on time today for the first time in a hot minute, well, guess what? They get a RAM buck. No, it's not physical money, but that'd be kind of cool. It is a digital behavior point, all right? Kids can place their orders online through Student View once they have enough, RAM bucks, and teachers get 4 per class to give to a student. That way we can keep our behavior points, system in a controlled environment. So in order for teachers to actually give a RAM buck to a student, they just go into their Synergy, make sure that they have their behavior points checked on their picture. It will have a little circle next to it, and you click on the circle with the number in it, and it pulls up their behavior points category. On here, you'll see a screenshot of that. But this is something that you can choose from a vast majority of options to give a kid a positive behavior point. No matter what, PBIS is not going away. So yes, we are going to continue to use PBIS because it is aligned with a state-supported mission, which is that whole child framework, supports the equity, safety, and really the academic engagement of all students. So this will conclude my presentation here on PBIS, and you will find all of my references here. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.